Hello, and welcome to the Flatpacked podcast. I'm Wesley James.
And I'm Kevin Deers.
Together, we explore the world of renovations and how flat-packed furniture giants IKEA have revolutionized the remodeling industry.
Let's get started.
I love seeing your Semihandmade samples behind you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Showroom in Chicago.
Yeah, what neighborhood in Chicago is your showroom?
We're in Wicker Park, which is perfect because if you're familiar with Chicago, it's the neighborhood right off the highway, I-94.
Okay.
So if we get showroom appointments, super convenient, jump right off the highway, free parking in front. Rarely, no one has any parking issues. So it's been a really great location. I didn't start here. I started kind of north of the city,
Okay.
and we moved here about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've only been to Chicago one time, and it was, let me tell you, not a good experience.
What?
Well, I was on tour with an old band. I mean, this was back in I don't know, 2010 maybe.
Okay.
And it was funny because I was actually really excited to go to Chicago.
Yeah.
Just I'd never been, and obviously it's a big city. It's in the,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I went, and I don't know how much you know about touring punk bands, but there's not a lot of money in it. And so we were broke as hell, especially because we just weren't good at what we did. And so we had this ruse going where, well, not a ruse, but we had this thing where every city we got to, we would call ahead to either Chipotle or Chili's or any place like that, right? And be like, hey, we're broke, we're on tour. Can you do anything to help us out? And everywhere we went, they would give us free food. It was kind of insane, right? Chicago was the only place that were just no, I don't care.
Well, that's so shocking because I find Chicago to be so friendly.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we got one person,
yeah.
And
do you remember what bar neighborhood you were in?
No, not at all. It was all I know is it was a Chipotle. What I kind of remember to be downtown.
That's so funny.
And and the other thing is, right, that one person doesn't mean that the rest of Chicago is not nice.
But it's your experience.
But also, we hadn't showered in days, we were exhausted, and it was, it really did live up to the name, the Windy City. And it was miserable cold.
Oh, in the
and
winter.
The wind was just going like crazy. And I was just I can't get out of here fast enough.
Wow.
So I don't think that I've given Chicago a fair shake.
I know. You've got to come visit.
I do. I really want to. Hopefully when the weather's nice.
Well, Wicker Park, do you remember the movie with John Cusack, High Fidelity Record?
Of course, yeah. Love that movie.
So that record shop is based in Wicker Park in that movie.
Oh, cool.
So this was a little, a little edgier back in the day, this neighborhood. It's now, since, it's so close to the city, it's exploded. It's, beautiful old turn of the century brownstone-like homes, worker cottages. So it's, a lot of professionals, young families now living in the neighborhood. So it's still, there's this one strip along Milwaukee where there's still a ton of record shops, ton of vintage clothing shops. So you'd really love this neighborhood.
I got to come make it out.
Yeah. And I lived in Seattle too.
I didn't know that.
What? Yeah.
No.
90. So first of all, born and raised in Toronto, Canadian.
I did know that.
Yes. We moved to the States in 1995 to Seattle. My husband opened his company there, and that was kind of his first location. So we moved to Seattle. My son was born there. My youngest son was born in Seattle. We lived there from 95 to 2001.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We lived on the east side, though, up in Issaquah.
Oh,
up on the plateau,
beautiful over there.
Issaquah, and it's now Sammamish, I think. So
yeah. Awesome.
So we lived there, and then in 01 we moved to Nashville, great town. And then in '07, we moved to Chicago. So I can say I've lived in 3 of the coolest cities in
Yeah,
like all of
amazing.
the states, all totally different too, right? And
Totally.
Chicago feels the most like home. Well, we've also been here 17 years, but it feels like Toronto. It's like so much of it is like Toronto, and
Sure.
we love it. And then, yeah, I started my business and here I am. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you were the first partner showroom with Semi-Handmade.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
long has that been going?
So I was just thinking about it before we jumped on. This October will be 5 years.
Nice.
I don't even know where those 5 years went.
I know.
And everything that's gone on between then and now, I mean, probably we've installed 60, at least 60 kitchens. I've designed well over 200. It's just such a one of those fun stories. You know, how I got into all this and how I approached semi-handmade. And I just always had a gut feeling it would do well here
Yeah.
because I saw a need for it when I was going through my own kitchen designs. And that's how I discovered semi-handmade.
Mhm.
Uh, when we moved to Chicago from Nashville, we bought this very cool mid-century modern house and up in the burbs. And we were getting the craziest kitchen estimates. Like it needed to be totally gutted. And my husband and I were like, no way are we going to spend like $75,000 on this little teeny kitchen.
Sure.
And I back in the day, when Semi-Handmade first started out, they had a lot of like mid-century modern vibes, like with
Mhm.
the their wood doors, and that's how I discovered them. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do an IKEA kitchen, but I found this company, Semi-Handmade. I'm gonna put, these very cool looking mid-century modern fronts on the kitchen. So when I was telling my husband this idea and I did all the math, it was coming in closer to $30,000, and that was with everything like in 2011 we did that. Like that was counters, and he was like, yeah, sign me up for that. That's
Sure.
half the price. And then I'd have people come into my house and they're like, oh my gosh, like this is the coolest kitchen, like where did you get it? And I'm like, yeah, it's IKEA. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, no. And so that's how I started down the process with IKEA kitchens. And then after that, I helped renovate my husband's office. We put in a big like kitchen for all of the staff. And then when we sold our house in the burbs and kids were done high school, we are like, we want to get closer into the city. We bought this really cool vintage bungalow.
Mhm.
And I knew right away I was going to just do all semi-handmade because I loved the product and I knew it was going to save me a lot of money. And so obviously a vintage bungalow, I did a lot of the shaker. I kept the, historic integrity of the home, made it look really like the kitchen's been there forever. But I did my kitchen, I did a built-in unit in my master bedroom, I did like a bar in my dining room.
Mhm.
And again, people would come to my house and be like, oh my gosh, I love your kitchen. I'm like, yeah, it's IKEA with like this cool company, Semi-Handmade. So, so that's kind of how I mean, my whole house was semi-handmade. So I just started thinking there's a market out there for this. Like
Yeah.
people have been so impressed with it. So what happened was I'm one of those stories where I had a midlife crisis at 50 and I was like working for my husband's company at the time, doing admin work and accounting, hating my job. And I'm just like, I'm 50. I love design. If I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. So
Mhm.
I told my husband I'm quitting. And they were like, what? And I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. And we moved into this cute little neighborhood in Chicago, and there was this little shop. Like I walked by it and it was like for lease. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to open like a little retail shop, like design, like pillows and, decor. And
Sure.
so I did it, and it wasn't a big risk, my rent wasn't a lot. And I thought I'm going to give it a go. I signed a 1-year lease, and within 4 months, I'm like, I hate retail. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I've got all this inventory, and I was starting to get a lot of design leads. And I
Yeah.
just one day just thought, okay, I have to pivot. And I had this space, and I thought of Semihandmade, and I thought, okay, I'm going to contact them and say, I've got this beautiful space in Chicago. Would you be interested in putting in a showroom?
Mhm.
So I like put my marketing hat on, and I did a little presentation. We were flying out to LA for something else. So I thought, while I'm out there, I'm going to like make a trip, and I like pitched them like my idea, and they bought in. And that was
Nice.
kind of it. They were like, yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. And here we are 5 years later.
Wow.
And then we moved into Wicker Park, and we um we ended up buying this building that I'm in.
Okay.
So my ground floor is the studio and showroom. The second level is an Airbnb, and the top level is where we live. And we have a really nice like rooftop deck,
Amazing.
and the whole building is semi-handmade all the way down. Like my
Oh,
unit,
wow.
oh yeah, my unit, I did all Sarah Sherman Samuel DIY fronts. Like I did like a purple kitchen. I was like having fun with it, like pelt, Pharaoh and ball. And I did the Airbnb level had an old IKEA kitchen in it, and it was
Oh,
kind
wow.
of falling apart. So I put all Akuram, semi-handmade fronts from Akuram on there. So yeah, so my my whole building is basically a semi-handmade showroom. So
I think Wes, we need to do some work for the podcast in Chicago. Let's go stay at the Airbnb. What do you think?
yes,
Shit, that'd be awesome.
yeah,
Do a
no,
little work trip.
Yeah.
we do have an Airbnb, and the craziest thing about this Airbnb is we are booked every weekend, like all summer from now until October. We are booked
Wow.
every weekend because we're in a really great neighborhood. People can take the train from O'Hare right to, there's a stop a block and a half from
Okay.
us. We have parking if people have a car. So yeah, people stay in the Airbnb, and it's like semi-handmade IKEA up there too. So
That's amazing.
we say like in the welcome thing, yeah, there's a studio downstairs if you.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, what I've
So
been
yeah,
wanting to do, we should actually, what would be really cool is we'll do another podcast at your space.
yeah.
But what I've been trying to get going is doing installation demonstrations, or really assembly and installation, right? And just kind of like
Right.
going around to the different studios and saying, hey, here's some tips on how to best assemble your
Right.
cabinet if you're a DIYer or
Right.
whatever, right? And so maybe
Right.
we'll figure something like that out.
Well, and then the interesting thing about all of that, and I think you and I uh came at this from two different ways. We've ended up in the same place. Like
Yeah,
you started as an installer and got into design because there was a need for it. And I started as a designer, and I found myself becoming an installer, which is
sure.
actually the hardest part of all of it. Like it's like,
Thank you for saying that, honestly.
well, what happened was is I found myself designing these beautiful kitchens, and then my clients would be like, "Well, you're going to help install it, right?" And I'm like, "Well," so what happened was the guys that did my kitchen, my house, and my husband's office, when I started the semi-handmade showroom, I said, "So I didn't know how this was going to go, right?"
Mm.
I'm like, "I think I'm going to, maybe get a kitchen maybe once a month, maybe every other month. Would you guys be interested in doing this on the side?" My guys work for a big commercial construction company during the week.
Mhm.
And, I'm like, yeah, we'll just like do a demo on a Saturday, put the bases in, the following Saturday we'll return and just like finish it.
Yeah.
I think we've had like 2 or 3 off weekends over the last like 5 years. Like I have them booked every single weekend.
Wow.
I'm like, please, like just come do this full time for me. And that's why I'm calling you all the time. Like, can you come to Chicago? Because installers are really hard to come by, like really good IKEA installers.
Yeah.
And I only trust my guys. And I tend to do like very customized IKEA kitchens. Not like people are gonna walk in and go, there's no way that's an IKEA kitchen, you know, with my pocket doors and my coffee bars
Sure,
and
sure.
a lot of custom sizes, panel ready fridges, panel ready dishwashers. So yeah, finding really good installers has been the toughest part of my job, and that's why my guys are booked out. So many times I've had people come in and say, "Oh, I've got an installer, you know, my contractor said he can do it. I just want you to help design our kitchen." I'm like, "Great." I'm like, "You're sure, right? Like they know how to do this." And they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah." Yeah, like, a month later, they're like, "Oh, are your guys available? This is a disaster." And I'm like, "No, like they're not. I can
Yeah,
try, but because I'm booked." And you know, yeah, I've had so many times like totally mess up, installing it wrong. You know, we create this beautiful design and we create very detailed installation guides for our, you know, our clients that are using a different contractor, and no one reads those, like
of
heaven
course.
forbid. Like we spell it out, like this is how you do a pocket door, and they, you know, nope. But I have started to find a few more installers here. I'm starting to work with Semihandmade, just posted, well, did an email of one of our kitchens. That's really cool. And that was very customized. And we were worried like their contractor was not going to be able to do this.
Sure.
And he actually did a really great job. And I'm like, okay, what's this guy's name? I need to get him
Yeah,
in my back pocket. And now I've got him doing a couple kitchens. And he's a contractor too, which is great because he can do wall removals, floors. My guys can't really do all that. They don't have the time. Like
sure. Yeah.
they, so they go in, demo, install a kitchen over 2 weekends. And
Mhm.
if I have now clients that want wall removals and that sort of thing, I'm working now with this other contractor. So that's exciting. So I'm
Yeah,
feeling
that's
like
awesome.
I'll get a little bit of a reprieve. I want my weekends back. I work every Saturday, you know, so
Listen, me and you both.
it's a grind. Installs are the hardest part, I find. If you can design the most beautiful kitchen, and if you don't have a good installer that's going to put it in correctly, then it's
It's true,
not
you know, and what's funny about that is obviously I agree, you know, and coming from the IKEA world, you know, working for IKEA's installation company for so many years, obviously I understand the importance of of great design to work off of. And for me, while installation might, you know, be a challenge in your beginnings, design was definitely a challenge in my beginnings. One, because who do you find that does design work, that knows the IKEA world, that's really detail oriented, that's creative, and is not going to do it on the IKEA program, right?
right.
Because we all know the IKEA program is leaves more to be desired. And so what's funny, I don't know if you know this about me, I attempted being my own designer.
I
And
heard
let me,
that. I listened to one of your other podcasts. Yeah,
okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not me.
right.
I'm just not good at it. I mean, I'm good at the aspect of knowing what works, how to get creative, and all of those things. I can see it all in my head, but getting it into a computer is
Right.
a
Well,
nightmare.
and you know, I'll be honest, like I'm a very visual creative person and I've always loved kitchen design. But I started at 50. Like I don't have time. It's not that I didn't want to learn SketchUp, but I was just like, I'm just so busy, right? It's like
Yeah,
you had to sit down and learn it. And I'm a big believer in just finding the best people to help with that. And you know, I hired Hannah, who is a SketchUp whiz, and
mhm,
she's unbelievable. She's, you know, she came on, oh my gosh, is it 3 years now she's been here? I don't know. Time is flying. I think coming on 3 years. And surround yourself with people that are better at things than you are, right? So I've got
definitely.
my great install team. I've got Hannah, who's amazing designer. I have Chelsea now, who's in my, so I now have a little staff, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And Chelsea is doing design now as well, and she helps with all of our interior selections for counters and hardware. And so I've got this great little group, and I have found myself more than anything becoming kind of a project manager. Like I
Mhm.
am the one going on site and really interfacing with the client a lot, just to make sure from start to finish, like we're full service.
Sure.
If you want, right? We'll design for you and then pass it on, but people like hiring us because we make it easy, start to finish design, ordering, building the IKEA cart, building your semi-handmade order, it arriving, we come in, we demo, and install, and
Sure.
then, yeah. And so that's, it's been great having those extra people to help with all that, because I find I am now off on site, but I love the design part, and we're really collaborative, and we just bounce ideas off each other. It's nice to have people that you can trust to
Yeah.
do a
No,
great
that's amazing. I've got 3 designers now. And
job.
yeah, it's funny. The first one came to me just through Instagram, was just kind of like, hey, I love what you do. Her and her husband did their kitchen on their own with IKEA and Semi-Handmade. And I think that was kind of like her learning project, right? I mean, she went to school and everything for design, but that was kind of like her first, like, okay, I'm gonna do my kitchen. And she was like, yeah, I'm really good at this. And then reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in a designer? And it was right at that time where I was really struggling with my own designs, right? And I was like, oh my God, yes, please. I need
Yes,
your help. And the busier we got, the more need we had for more designers. And it's so awesome now because I don't have, well, I think about it a little bit, but the only effort I really have to put into design is when they present me with an issue that they're running into and saying, hey, is this customization possible? And then
right,
I get to like shine in that area, right? And say,
right.
oh, yeah, let me tell you how it works. And we get on a Zoom and we talk about it. And then I'm just like, that's all for me with design. I don't have to do it. But the beauty of it for me is the amount of work that we put in with the designers. Um, it gives me as the installer a perfect roadmap
Right,
of exactly what to. And let me tell you how satisfying it is looking at elevations that are clear and crisp and easy to read. And
right.
once we have the final product done and comparing it to the design and everything is perfect down to
Yeah,
the 2-inch filler, I mean,
yeah,
it's priceless. It
yeah.
is priceless having that perfect design.
That is the most satisfying part of our job, is just that end product, and
Yeah.
your client is so happy, right? And I was listening to one of your recent podcasts, and you're talking about Instagram. Instagram, obviously, look, is so important for Chelsea and Hannah. I didn't like search them out. They came to me. I think they saw me on Instagram. Chelsea actually had a semi-handmade appointment because she did her own kitchen. And then
Okay.
when she was starting to look for a new design job, she's like, oh, that looks great. She contacted me. Same with Hannah. And Instagram is such a great marketing tool. And early on, I kind of went down that rabbit hole of, uh, oh, I need to get my followers up,
Mhm.
and I'm going to hire a person to help me with my social media. And I took a step back and I said, I just want to design kitchens. I don't want to put a lot of energy into that. I want my Instagram to be just an extension of my portfolio.
Mhm.
Then they were doing reels, and I was like, I don't have time to even learn that, let alone like I'm starting a business and now there's this whole social media side. And I just decided, we're going to and we're trying to be better. I've got some professional photography done. That's a whole other
I
thing
know.
in this market. It's so expensive, but you need it.
Yep.
And you know, there's not a lot of margins, as you know, in the
Yes.
IKEA design world. So I have to be very careful with my marketing dollars. So, but yeah, Instagram for me is just a nice extension of our portfolio, and you know, we'll do some like little stories with our installs and so on. But yeah, it's tough to manage all those elements of running like a design business, right? All the
Sure.
ins and outs and but yeah, so
It's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, I'm the same as you, right? Like I don't have time to learn all these
Oh, I
new,
can't.
and the trends are always changing too. Like so by the time
Oh,
my little, brain figures out how to do a reel at all, much
right,
less all the trending ones, it's already two trends have
right,
already passed. You know what I mean?
right. Like one of my associates said, "Oh, you have to get on TikTok," and I was like,
Hell
"No,
no.
like,
Hell no.
like I can't even. I can't even. Like I don't even have TikTok on my phone. I mean, and I said, and that's even just all video. And I said, I just like call me old school, like Instagram with a nice still photo, beautiful kitchen.
Yeah.
That's all I can do. That's all my brain can manage. The next generation can do all that. I can't take on that kind of social media
Yeah, it's
much.
a lot. It's a lot to
And
do.
a lot of these big designers, they have a staff person that
Mhm.
does that. And you know, I don't. So it's just me and my little team. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we make it
You and
work.
I are in the same boat there.
Yeah.
But you know what would be fun is when me and Kevin come out to do our podcast there, we'll have to do one of those dancing reels.
That's where I'm drawing the line. I'm not dancing. I'm not dancing. And, you know, or one of those reels, which is really big, whereas they walk by and then they touch something and then it converts over. I
Yeah.
don't even do those, you
Yeah.
know, like I'm just like, here's my pretty kitchen scanned.
Same.
That's
Yeah.
as creative as I get. But yeah, I have so much. The funny thing is too, I have so much content. I could just like, but it's again, it's time. So many times I'll leave an installation. I'm exhausted by the end of the day. And then I'm in my car driving and I'm like, why didn't I get any video of that? But
Yeah.
I'm just so tired of at the end of the day. I'm like, that would have been a perfect little like reel. And I've got to remind myself of that sometimes, but I'm also just just not thinking about it. Like, you know, it's like
Totally. It's
media, it's
it's
not
it's
like
like
on my
another
brain.
job on top of what you're already doing.
It
I
is.
I went out to LA however long ago to do a closet installation, and I viewed it as like a really good opportunity for content, and I was really serious about it. I really stayed on top of it, and even like the food that we're eating and all just everything, right? And
Right.
it was so taxing mentally, physically. And then I'm like, okay, great. So we spent 10 hours installing. Now I'm in my hotel room hosting all this stuff for
It's
another 2 hours.
right. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And when you are installing and doing all the design, I mean, that's my priority. I decided. I I don't care if I have I'm almost at 4,000 followers. Woo, but I'm like, I don't care. Like if I get to 50,000, I mean, I just know that my clients are happy. That's what I
Mhm.
have to remind myself. I am a kitchen designer. We are providing an actual service, right? We are interfacing with people that are spending a lot of money. And that's my priority to make sure it runs smoothly, that it looks beautiful, that it lasts. And I just decided one day, like I hired a social media person. I'm like, first of all, I can't afford this.
Mhm.
And like that, I would rather take that money and have more staff to help, you
Yeah.
know, and um so yeah, that is what I remind myself of all the time. We are kitchen designers and we are design, you know, we leave and these kitchens are beautiful. I'm so proud of them and makes me feel good that they're happy. And that's really what it's all about for me.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's not very important to be a Instagram influencer at the end
Influencer.
of the day.
Oh man. And I just, I
Not
can't
all of
imagine.
us can be like Kevin. He's an Instagram influencer.
uh,
No, 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 I'm not.
I have to go check you out after we get off. No, but you do like you do some fun, like all of your customization is fun to watch. You and I communicate all the time. I'm like, hey, how did you do that? And you're like,
Sure, yeah.
yeah, give me a call. And so that's been helpful watching you do a lot of great hacks. And I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna do that next time. And
You know, in
yeah,
a perfect world, and again, I'm in the same boat. I can't afford someone to do my social media for me as
right.
well. But if I could, that's what I would focus on. Not making the reels and all of that. I would just want somebody documenting me
Yeah,
doing all the customizations
right,
because I can't saw it and video it at the same time.
right,
And I don't know how to even edit it or anything like that. But if I did, that's what I would focus on is all
right.
of those fun customizations, doing the outlet charger in the back of a
Yeah,
drawer, doing
yeah.
all the pocket doors, even though I don't want to do pocket doors anymore. But
Really? Oh
I
my God.
just it's not fun for me. I don't
I
know.
think every kitchen I design now has those pocket doors. It's really big here. I don't know. It is like, yeah,
It
I
was
do love
here for a while. It was really interesting. It was like every single job for 2 years had them. And
yeah.
then one day it just kind of died off, and
Yeah.
I'm happy
I don't
about
know
it,
if it's
honestly.
I don't know if it's because we just tend to design and put them in. We're just like, oh, I don't want to see that microwave. I don't want to see clutter on the counter. Especially with these like smaller Chicago um,
Mhm.
you know, apartments, and we like to design it so it looks really pretty and like, yeah, we're going to hide that big old microwave. We're going to take it off, above your range. We're going to tuck it behind this little cabinet, and everyone loves that.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You know what's big for us right now is microwaves in islands, like base cabinet islands.
So, we get that a lot. But I mean, it's not a big push. Like I don't get a lot of requests for it. And
Mhm.
again, I think it's because like we don't design with it either a lot of times. Some people love them and some people don't. They don't like the idea of it being in a drawer. But definitely people are like, I don't want that big old microwave above my range anymore, right? It's
Sure.
this big one. And they're so big, they're 30 inches wide. And what do people do? Warm up leftovers, pop some popcorn. You don't need an industrial size
Yeah. If
microwave. So
I had
yeah.
my way, I'd have two microwaves. I love microwaves. I like seeing them. I like using them. I
Yeah,
mean, especially with how busy I am. I mostly make my dinner in the microwave. I just get like
yeah,
vegan frozen meals every night. Just like, okay, I'm not putting any effort into this, but
yeah. Our
um,
big thing is still panel ready fridges, dishwashers. Those are our
sure.
big thing here. Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, same thing with the panel ready fridges. We were doing those every single job, and now it's like 2 or 3 times a year. I don't
Really?
know why things change like that. It's weird. Design trends, but again, I stay out of it. I'm just
Right,
like I'm letting the designers do their thing with the clients, and I'm gonna install it. And
right. Yeah, no,
um,
we do those a lot. I mean they're not as big. A lot of our clients are like, oh, those panel ready fridges aren't, I need like a big fridge for my family. So, but they stick out farther and they're like, well, I want
yeah,
it really clean looking. And I'm like, well, then you have to do a panel ready fridge and it'll
yeah.
look like just cabinetry.
Have you
But yeah,
done the IKEA built-in fridges yet?
their 24-inch one.
Yeah.
No,
Oh my
no,
God, they're so cool.
no. Well, we have one here that's not the IKEA brand, but yeah, I mean, I personally love panel ready everything.
Mhm.
Like my own place, I've got a wall that looks like a wall, and then behind it, I have my pocket door with my microwave, and then my fridge, and it just looks like a wall.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's the
I'm a
IKEA ones are really cool.
yeah.
And what most people are doing is buying two of them and putting them side by side. Oh,
I know. That
it
is genius.
functions so well too. It's really amazing.
Well, and it's genius because what are those fridges like 1,500 bucks?
Something like, yes, something
So
so inexpensive.
you're getting a 48-inch built-in fridge side by side for $3,000.
Yeah.
Like that's less than the Fisher Paykel 56-inch or
Mhm.
36-inch panel ready fridge.
Yeah.
It's genius. I've started seeing that more where they put in two 24-inch.
Mhm.
And I haven't done that yet, but our issue is, being in Chicago, we do smaller kitchens a lot of times.
Sure.
And they don't have the space for big, huge appliances. So,
Yeah. I get
but
that.
and that's what's great about using IKEA and Semi-Handmade. I have had clients, their appliance package with their 36 or 48 wolf range and their sub-zero fridges are more than their cabinet costs,
Mhm.
right? They see the value in using IKEA with Semi-Handmade so they can spend extra on those higher end appliances and the beautiful countertops and all the hardware and the bells and whistles. No one is looking in and going, oh, that's an IKEA kitchen. Like no
Right.
one is doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's becoming more common, partly because of Instagram influencers doing so many of them. IKEA kitchen design is people are seeing the value of it and being
Certainly.
creative. All those DIYers out there, I mean, they've been awesome to help build that IKEA kitchen brand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to find out, it's funny in the years that we've been chatting, I don't think that we ever talked about if you have a favorite semi-handmade door style, color, etc. Do you have a
So
small
my
handful that you lean towards personally?
so my entire my unit
Mhm.
is all the quarter line, Sarah Sherman Samuel quarter
Okay,
line.
and that's
I
the
love
paintable one, the
yes, I
DIY.
did the
Yep.
entire space DIY. Because I just thought, fun opportunity to be creative. And I did like the Pharaoh and Ball pelt, which is like a purple kind of
Yep.
cabinet. Um, yeah, and I did like a purpley vanity in a bathroom. I did do the Chris Loves Julia saddle fronts in the master bath because I
Okay.
kind of wanted that moody. Yeah, I did a big long media center. It's like almost 15 feet long. Um, has all my husband's records in there. They pulled out with drawers, so it's got his turntable. So yeah, I would say though quarter line, 100% was
Borderline's your favorite.
is my favorite. I just love that detail and it's kind of like traditional but modern.
Mhm.
So yeah, and she does pretty work too. I love all her
Oh
designs.
yeah, yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm more of a slab guy. I just like,
Yeah.
the clean lines and
Yeah.
um I love some of the combos that we've done with slab, like black slab with
Mhm.
mixed with Tahoe,
Yeah.
the Tahoe slab.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do this a lot, and I don't even know that I would want it in my home, but one of my favorites is the beaded doors.
Yes. Yeah.
We did Celine Ord's Island in the
Yep.
beaded black, and oh my God, it was just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. The beaded is cool too. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, yep, quarter line is my jam. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she really, not to say that I don't know if she invented that or whatever, who came up with it first, but let me tell you, it really has blown up. That style has really blown up, and it seems like she kind of started this uh skinny shaker revolution, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everyone's doing it, and
Right.
I'm even getting emails from um just very standard non-IKEA door manufacturers being like, introducing this skinny shaker, and it looks
Right.
exactly like hers, right? And
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be like the first few jobs that I did with it. I was like, wow, this is really
Yeah.
something. It's obviously a modern version of a shaker.
Right.
Um, but I don't know.
I would
I
say
mean,
I would say in Chicago, because of the historic homes that we do, a lot of people, to keep the integrity are still doing shaker. I
Mhm.
mean, that is still, I feel, our biggest seller. I'd say it would go shaker, quarter line, then slab.
Mhm.
We don't do a lot of modern slab type kitchens, maybe in a condo here and there. Um, oh, and condo installs that's a whole other
Oh yeah. We're
in
actually dealing with
Chicago.
one right now, and it's
Oh, it's hard because they have certain hours you have to work and you've got to deal with those are
usually not on weekends.
oh yeah, well that's been hard for my crew. So condos, I mean, we do them, but they're more difficult here in the
Oh yeah.
city. Well, and
We're
it's
we've
like,
we've gotten to the point where we want to charge like double
right,
to install in the condo. We're this one that we've been working on recently. Um, it shares a building with Whole Foods, and so the client got us a really awesome parking spot, which is like so rare for condo work, especially this is downtown Seattle too.
yeah,
And so that's really rare. And we were really grateful that we got this parking spot in the, I don't know, warehouse area that backs up to the parking garage for the condos that's really close to the elevator. So it was like perfect, right?
right,
Second day we show up, we can't even get into the parking garage because someone ran their car into the electrical box that
right,
runs all of Whole Foods.
right.
And so the store was down, all they had to throw away multiple dumpsters worth of food.
Oh yeah,
So all day there was trash trucks coming in and out. There was like maintenance guys, all this. And we're just like, what do we even do? How do
right,
we even get in? So we lost a day of work there. Um, the next
yeah. It's
day,
always
one of the elevators was down. The next day, someone was moving, so they had the elevator locked.
right,
The last day, there was a fire in the building,
yeah,
and we had to use the stairs because the elevators were, I
right,
mean, the fire department was there, right? Condos are insane. I mean,
yeah.
especially downtown.
Well, and it's always the parking, and that's the first thing the contractors I've used, they look at, like, how do we get all of our tools up there? What's it gonna be like day to day? Yeah, so those can be really tricky. And then there's really easy management companies to work with. And then there's been a few that I'm like, these people are nuts. Like they are just on you, they're not cooperating. Meanwhile, it's a person, an owner in the building, they're improving the building. Like it helps the value to
Yeah.
have, they're going to renovate a condo and then that condo sells for more. It's great for the whole building. Like I don't understand why they give some of even the homeowners a hard time.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
pretty wild. I don't know. We had one that was, it was a nice-ish building or whatever. It's a really cool part of town. And the concierge ID'd us every single time we came in. And
and
I'm sorry, I am a very recognizable person. Like I literally have face tattoos. I'm 6'2".
right,
This big guy. Like you recognize me. You don't have to ID me every time. And
right,
I eventually got sick of it. And I was just like, hey man, why are you
right,
being such a hassle? He's like, well, security is really high because so and so baseball player lives here. I'm like, what does that mean? Who cares?
yeah, but you saw me yesterday.
Yeah. Literally, you saw me an hour ago and you're asking for my
Right,
ID again.
right.
Anyway, yeah, I
uh,
sometimes I don't know, who knows why they're such a
well,
pain sometimes.
we've done actually, so I do a lot of remote design as well, but I've actually done a bunch of designs uh, from Chicago. If you kind of go south around the Lake Michigan, there's like the Michigan beach towns.
Mhm.
I've done a few properties, kitchens over there, and I did this one property where he actually, the company that my guys work for, during the week, they hired that. I called the company and I said, would you mind, can I like hire you, the company? It was a lot more money that way. But this guy has this beautiful lake house. I mean, overlooking Lake Michigan. It was one of the most beautiful projects, but he put the guys up in a hotel for a full week. We were up there for
Wow.
a full week. It was fun. But yeah, we don't do that very often where our clients can afford to like put up a crew for a week to install their kitchen. And he still
Yeah.
felt he saved money doing it that way compared to
Isn't
getting.
that crazy?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like and it was a beautiful, beautiful kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. When my first travel job was Celine Ord's kitchen in Reno. Well, we did pretty much her whole house. Um, and it was a lot, right? I mean, it was 2 or 3 trips. Um, it was always me and a helper, and she put us up in hotels and food and yada 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 yada. And at the end of the day, she said the same thing. She was like, I still saved 50% from this other quote that I
Right.
got from someone in Reno, right? To do custom. And
Right.
she's actually happier. Well, assuming she's happier with the result. Um, and it's crazy, right? I mean, since then, of course, my prices have gone up.
Right.
Um, I mean, I think everyone has except for IKEA. Uh, but still, even still, I'm seeing prices going out of projects that we're bidding now. And it's kind of mind blowing how much money you save using IKEA.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously, you know very well, I have a strong love for IKEA cabinets.
Yeah.
But what's funny is I actually had a consultation with someone yesterday who was telling me, "Oh, I actually found this other cabinet company who beats IKEA's price." I just assumed she meant like a custom cabinet maker. And I'm like, there's no way. There is no, how is that even possible, right? The more we talked about it, she was like, oh yeah, it's this company, blah, blah, blah. They get their cabinets from China. I'm like, okay, yeah,
Right.
that's fine or whatever. And I don't even count those because one, I mean, they have close to no warranty.
Right.
And I mean, I've assembled and installed every cabinet, right? Every style of cabinet. I've done it. And but aside from those affordable options, when it comes to IKEA, it's really insane how good the cabinets are for how affordable they are. It's
Right.
incredible. I mean, I don't know if you've gone to Home Depot and bought a raw sheet of melamine,
Right.
but that sheet of melamine costs you more than a pre-packaged, prefabricated, flat packed cabinet from IKEA, already drilled and all the hardware. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then of course you get a 25-year warranty on it.
Yeah.
How do you beat that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously through COVID, they had a lot of stock issues that you and I had to get creative and hack cabinets. There was one time when COVID just hit and I was in the process of, just getting started with my design career. Literally, I opened my business.
Mhm.
Well, I opened the showroom October 2019. I'm like, woohoo, this is great. I got my first client right after Christmas, like in the new year, early 2020. We got the order placed, it arrived. We demoed my first client, demoed the kitchen. You start hearing about this COVID thing, right? It
Mhm.
was literally a week later, they shut down Chicago. And
Yep.
my client's kitchen was demoed. And we were all navigating like, we got to finish this kitchen. Like, are we even allowed to go in our house? Like, they
Right.
shut down the city. And it was so weird. And my client was freaking out. We were all freaking out. Like, oh, like, do we wear masks? Are people going to die? Like, what's happening? And obviously, and my client was like, I don't have a kitchen and I'm about to be in my house because of quarantine. I need to get the kitchen. So, like, they would leave and my guys would come in and finish. So, we got that kitchen done. And I remember thinking at the time, oh my gosh, like COVID's hit and I've just opened the showroom. Oh man, like what a horrible timing to start my new showroom studio design business. Well, let's be real. COVID was the best thing to ever happen to kitchen designers, the renovating business in
Yep.
general. But I mean, my business went from here to here because people were home looking at their kitchen going, oh, I finally have to do something. I'm here. Who knows when we're going to be able to travel again. I'm going to, instead of spending my money on my big European trip this year, I'm going to put it
Yeah,
into my kitchen.
totally.
And yeah, so kind of like oddly, like I saw my business go up.
Same.
And I try and remind myself, right? So, there's all this conversation, and I'm not sure what you're feeling out in Seattle. Like, are things slowing down? Am I getting as much design? And is it a recession or inflation? And I kind of remind myself because I wasn't doing this pre-COVID, right? So I don't have anything to compare it to.
Mhm.
But are we just more back to normal demand? You know what I mean? Like it's not down, but it's normal. I think COVID was this artificial for the entire renovation business, like lumber, 2x4s, everything was out of stock. People were doing so much home renovation, not just kitchens, but everything else.
Yeah.
And the demand went like this because of COVID. Are we now more just like back to normal demand, right? Like,
So I
I,
think I have a different perspective, as someone who's, you know, in the labor portion. But also, of course, we do design as well, right? So first of all, I think at the end of the day, like COVID kind of did me a disservice because although, yes, I experienced the same thing where our business just really skyrocketed so quickly. And I also started my business just a couple months before you. I was in August of 2019. And for me, it was kind of just like I felt like such a baller. I was
right,
like, my phone will not stop ringing. My emails blowing up. At the time, I had like 3 installation crews because I couldn't keep up with
right.
everything. And you know, at the time, people were, especially in places like I think Chicago, New York, Seattle, places where people were working from home and have money, were just like, oh, you're available and willing. Great. I'll pay you whatever you're asking.
Right.
And that set like kind of a precedent for me, right? And I've raised my prices since. Um, of course, cost of living has gone up astronomically as well since then. Um, but what's changed for me now is yes, we are kind of back to normal, I think, where not everyone is getting this influx of, uh stimulus money and
Hmm.
they're not working from home anymore and they are kind of back to normal in that sense. But also I think that because we are at least flirting with recession or whatever you want to call it, I don't pay attention very much to all of those things, not as much as I should. But also, I mean, inflation, of course, is a real thing, right? We all experience it. We're all, you can't even go out to eat without spending $100 if it's two people, right? Like it's gotten crazy. Um, but I think what is happening is people are more discerning about where they're spending their money.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, what I have always kind of experienced being a cabinet installer most of my life, um, is labor is just not viewed as important as other things, which is ironic because what we were talking about before, that the installation, if you want a great kitchen, installation is one of the hardest aspects of this world.
Right.
And what we run into a lot is, we do design work as well, and we get pretty booked out doing design. We have a lot of projects
Hmm.
going all the time. And what we're running into a lot now is people will get my
Hmm.
labor cost and they're just like, are you kidding me? Why
Right.
would you charge this? Like I can get so and so to do it for 2,000 less.
Right.
And it's really interesting. We were talking about expensive appliances before too. I actually had a client who showed me her appliance package.
Yeah.
What one espresso machine. It was like this pull out espresso, like whatever. It was like 8 grand.
Right.
Right. And I was very impressed. I was like, wow, this is amazing. So my labor cost at that time for what I viewed as a 3-week installation, I mean, huge laundry room, gigantic kitchen, whatever, this banquette or whatever, right? It was a huge job. And my labor cost was 15K. And she actually,
For 3 weeks of work?
yeah, I mean, my price has gone up since then,
Yeah,
but she actually was like, how do you get away with charging these prices? I'm like,
right.
I'm sorry, you're buying one machine for $8,000 and you don't want to pay a human that cares about their. It was pretty crazy, but that's kind of always what I've experienced is I don't I don't want to look at it from a perspective of people look down their noses at laborers, but I think more of what it is I think there's a general attitude, especially in the IKEA world, of why would you charge this? Anybody can do it.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? And which is obviously not true, especially
right,
to be done the right way.
right,
So, as far as like how things have changed, that's my perspective is that people are still renovating. They're willing to spend the money on design. They're willing to spend the money on the products, even way more now, with companies like Reform popping up and
mm-hmm,
charging just about the same as any custom cabinet shop would, and they're
right.
willing to pay for that. But then when it
Mhm.
comes to the labor, they're like, I don't know. I don't really think that I should pay you this living wage. I think that I'm going to
Right.
get someone less experienced that will do it cheaper. So
And
that's kind of been
you know,
my take.
yeah, I mean, I've never really had pushback. I let them know on the front end that my guys, this is what we charge. And I wish I could charge less, but that's what my guys charge me,
Yep.
right? And there have actually been times where I've probably quoted an estimate that was for installation that was too low, and I'm there working too, and in the end I pay my guys obviously before I pay myself, and
Mhm.
sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I made 10 bucks personally, and I put my heart and soul into it. I find estimating for installation the hardest part of the install process for me. And I've gotten better, but I'm fair. And my clients know I'm fair. I'm like, this is how long, this is how big your kitchen is. We're doing a lot of custom uh, pocket doors, which takes a
Mhm.
lot of time. So I've never had anyone really push back hard on that. And I think my clients, because we've developed a relationship, see the value in working with
Yeah.
my team. I've had a few people that have said before we even get into like them hiring me as a designer and moving on, I give them estimates on the front end. Like they'll show me a little kitchen. I'm like, your IKEA is going to cost about this much, your semi-handmade about this much. And for, demo install, here's a ballpark. And to your point, I've had a few people say, oh, like, oh, that's a lot of money. And I'm like, well, you can hire someone else to install it. It doesn't matter to me. Like if you have someone or a contractor, I'm like, hey, great. I mean,
Yeah.
I spend like I'm a big believer. Like if you don't want to hire my guys, but then I've had a few people say, the story I told you earlier, they're calling me at the 11th hour. Oh my gosh, I spent less, but now they're ending up spending more
Mhm.
because I've had my crew go in and fix installations and they'd say, I wish we had just hired your guys right out of the gate. It would have been done fast and perfect the first time. Now my guys are going in and having to fix some things. And that's one thing that shocked me is just seeing some of these contractors not take pride in
Oh
in
yeah.
in the
That's
kitchen. I'm
huge.
like shocked, like, yeah, so but yeah, I mean, I don't you do so many installations compared to me. I don't really hear that probably that much.
Yeah.
And I do think I'm very well priced. I'm fair. But it's the installation part is the hard part. And just juggling, like I have like they're only on Saturdays. So if there's a delay, like and what or if I have to like replace a panel or a door front,
Mhm.
um, to get my guys back to that job site can be difficult sometimes too, like
Yeah,
because
of
I'm
course.
only get them on a Sunday or a Saturday. So if something goes wrong, my whole schedule can go off. So a lot, and that's also why my clients like working with me, because I'm like, listen, these are the Saturdays we're there. We are in and we are out because I have the next job I have to get to. Whereas some of these contractors like take weeks and weeks. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, why is it taking them so long to finish your project?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get it. Or they don't show up for a day or two. It's so, but
That's
yeah,
always pretty bizarre to me. We run into that a lot as well, where, we say our installation is delayed because the contractor before us just decided not to show up for a few days and
right,
didn't let anybody know. Just,
right.
I'm not here.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
wild. But
Really, and
to your point, it's crazy that we live in an age where I shouldn't say most, but a lot of contractors that I come across, and it seems like you're experiencing as well, the lack of pride
right.
in work. And to be honest, I think that COVID also has a hand in that. Because I think a lot of people who maybe even used to have pride in their work, or maybe we're at the end of the rope at a certain point, I think COVID made it to where it was just this huge money grab for so many people in our
Mm,
in our trade. And I think that they just never let go of that.
right. Yeah, interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I've literally lost money on projects
Yeah,
because something goes
with
wrong
pride. Yeah,
and you have the pride to fix it, and just like, okay, well, sure, I quoted you this and it's taking this, but I'm not going to go back on my quote and say you charge, you owe me more now. But I am going to make sure that this project is done. I mean, it recently happened, actually. A job took 3 days longer than I thought it would.
right.
And 3 days of labor for me and another person is a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
And I just ate it.
yeah. I always say to my clients, like, the last thing I want to do is come back to you for more money. I hate that. I hate that. Obviously during demo, something comes up. We did this one demo and we took the wall tile off, and the previous contractor just like covered all these outlets. Nothing was to code. And,
Wow.
I had to come and say, hey, listen, or like a plumbing issue, we take the plumbing apart and there's, oh, look, thank God we remodeled. You're about to have a leak,
Yeah,
so think what. So little things like that, I have to come back and say, hey, I call it my Joanna Gaines, like, in Fixer Upper, where they always have to go back and ask for more money. I'm like, oh,
sure.
okay, this is my Joanna Gaines moment. Um, it's going to be more in plumbing, more in electrical, but I don't like coming back and saying, oh, like this job took longer from an install perspective, because that makes me uncomfortable, because it's kind of money towards my crew and I didn't like give them the right estimate. I don't like doing that. So there have been times where my guys get paid and I don't,
Yeah, I'm
and
familiar with
it's
that.
frustrating. And but it doesn't happen a lot, but uh because I take pride. I'm gonna just make sure it's done properly.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I think our time has kind of run its course.
How long have you
Um,
been chatting? About an hour?
yeah, yeah. This
Wow,
might be our longest episode yet.
amazing.
You
Well,
know, the
thank
first the first episode that we did, I mean, very well I'm a talker. Um, the first episode that we did, we actually had to redo because the first time we ran it, it was like almost 2 hours.
yeah.
Because I was just going on and on and on and on.
It was a long one.
It was, yeah. And we were like going over the edits, and I'm just like, when is this thing gonna end?
Right.
So
Well, there's probably a time limit too for podcasts, maybe an hour, because I do think people that are listening to it are like, oh man, I got stuff to do, this
yeah,
is going
totally.
on and on.
What's funny is when we did the first episode again, and I actually had this. I listen to a lot of podcasts that are like 20 minutes or less, right?
Right,
Because that's my attention span for that.
right,
Um, so when we were discussing like mapping out our goals and everything, I was like, we should keep episodes at 20 minutes. And then of course, I go on tangents and go and talk and like crazy. And next thing you know, it's 45 minutes or an hour or more.
This is 3 episodes right here.
Right. We could
We get
actually.
3 episodes.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Well, you
So,
could have a recurring like person, even do 20 minutes. Let's talk pocket doors, and you could loop me in and I can show you my pocket doors or like an install day,
yeah,
like
yeah.
here's our hack and just 20 minutes.
Well, you know what we're gonna do,
Okay.
and maybe this will be what we do when we come to Chicago, is we're gonna have a recurring theme based on debunking IKEA myths.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I would love to do multiple episodes based on that, talking to all the experts that I'm friends with. And we'll have to do that in
Yeah.
Chicago.
And speaking of which, you're opening your new showroom. We're coming to Seattle when that happens.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
It's taking much longer than expected
I
because
know.
I'm installing kitchens for other people all the time. But what's funny is, yeah, as a matter of fact, the other day we just got the last bit of cabinetry and semi-handmade doors out of our old showroom. And if in a perfect world, it's so funny. Like, so the unit that I'm most excited about is also the quarter line. It's a black quarter line. And I was just like, I wish that I could just pay someone to do my installations and I can rebuild this semi-handmade showroom myself right now because I'm just so excited about it and I want to open immediately, but I got to open the right way and it
Yeah.
just takes however long it takes, you know. And plus our new space is so much bigger. There's so many different portions of it, including my own personal office, which of course I'm spending a lot of time making as, creative and fun as I can. So, but yes, when we're open, we'll have to have you come out and
Likes that wallpaper.
it's cool, right?
Yeah. Is that in your new studio?
Yep, that's in my
That is
office.
cool. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's meant to look like gig posters.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, you'll all. I would say I'm about 70% of the way done with my office. So when I'm done with it, I'll send you pictures.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, nice chatting. We'll probably chat again soon. I'll be Instagramming you for questions and I
Yeah,
love
please do.
all your installs and yeah, and come visit Chicago.
We
Definitely.
will. We will.
Just to close up here, where can we follow you and where can people message you if they are interested in having you do some design?
So obviously Instagram. My business is Bespoke, which means custom, Bespoke Redesign. So at Bespoke Redesign, there's an RE Redesign. And then bespokeredesign.com is my website. And I've just been
Awesome.
updating my portfolio. It's looking really good. I've got a lot of great projects coming. Really beautiful, beautiful kitchens. So that we're super proud of.
Awesome. Well, I look
Perfect.
forward to chatting again soon.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Alrighty. Bye, guys.
Take care.
See you later.
Thanks for hanging out with us on the Flatpacked podcast, produced by the one and only Kevin Years. Music provided by Alex Jacobelli of Sun 6 Studios. If you'd like to be on the show, or if there's a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, shoot us an email at theflatpackedpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.